At Maranello to work on preparation for the forthcoming Canadian Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso gives us his talk in the wake of the Monaco race and analyzes what will be the key factors in the Montreal round.
Being the leader of the championship after 6 races, is it a target or just the beginning?
I think it's just the beginning, it's a starting point. We know that the ultimate target will be leading the championship after the final race in Brazil, and this is November. We know it's a long championship. We know that in terms of points, the first 6 races brought us the necessary points to be in the group of the leaders or leading now, but we know that we need to improve. We need to make the car fast. We need to continue working hard, no mistakes, and finding the consistency that in this 2012 championship is not the easiest thing to reach. So we are working hard, but obviously this is only hopefully the starting point of a good championship.
The race in Canada is in between the European season. Is it a problem from the physical preparation point of view?
No, it's not affecting too much the driver point of view of approaching Canadian Grand Prix. Obviously, when we are racing in Europe, maybe it's a little bit easier for the team to bring the new parts of the car in the very last moment to arrive in the very final moment. For Canada, maybe you need a little bit of preparation for the team to prepare the car, to bring the updates with some days in advance, but as I said, for the driver, not big changes.
Traction and top speed were the Achilles heels of the F2012. There has been any improvement on these areas?
I think so. I think the improvements we made in the car were all focusing some areas that we were not particularly strong at the beginning of the season, and for Canada will be a good test for us because we need to find if we really improve the car in very strong areas that the Canadian circuit is all about, which is traction and top speed. So hopefully in Canada we see a Ferrari that is competitive, and that will be very positive for us, not only for that weekend, also for the rest of the season, knowing that we are improving in the weak area of the car.
So do you expect Ferrari being competitive there?
I hope so. I think in this championship you never know, because has been some up and downs for everybody, has been surprises every race of the season, but I don't see any reason why Ferrari cannot be competitive also in Canada and fighting for the best positions at the end. We know that winning races is not easy, podium is not easy, but we need to score points and find some kind of consistency.
This year there will be a second race in North America. How important is for Formula One to have more races in this part of the world?
I think it's very important. Formula One is a sport that is followed by millions of people worldwide, and in America it's still not important or not follow enough, I think, for the show that there is every 15 days in Formula One. It's a fantastic sport. I think, especially in the last couple of years, we saw an improvement in terms of overtaking, in terms of show that we put in the races. So I think now the American people can enjoy a little bit more the races. And as we think that America needs Formula One needs America, because it's a fantastic country, a very powerful country that I think Formula One can be proud of being involved there, and having now 2 races in North America. Hopefully this perception or this feeling with Formula One in America can change.
In Montreal we race in a circuit named after Gilles Villeneuve. How emotional was for you to attend the event we made in Fiorano a few weeks ago to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Gilles' death.
It was a very emotional event. I think as everything that has been done in Ferrari from the day that I arrived, you see the passion, you see the emotions that only in Ferrari you can have. And it was a very special day with his son Jack driving the father's car, and the family was here also in Maranello. And now we arrive in Canada, where the circuit name is for Gilles, and all the Canadian people, we know that there are a lot of Ferrari supporters, so we want to do well in Canada. Also to give this hopefully good result to all the Gilles fans and all the Ferrari fans in Canada.
This week the European Football World Championship will begin. Is the reigning champion and the world champion Spain still the favorite?
I think I have to say yes. If I say Spain is not favorite for the European football, will be a lie, because Spain has been very strong in football in the last couple of years. The team is more or less the same, with some youngsters that joined the team. So I think they are playing well and they will be there fighting. Winning the European Championship is never easy, and sometimes when you go like two favorites, there is some kind of relax in the team, or some kind of possibilities to make some mistakes. So winning is a different matter, but favorites, I think yes, I think Spain is one of the best.
And do you think who will be the star of the tournament?
Star, you never know. I love how Iniesta plays, so maybe I think he can make difference before or later in one match, and it's very nice to watch him.
Sunday, the day of the race, there's also Italy against Spain in the European Championship. If you can win the race, but Italy beats Spain, will be anyway a good day for you?
Will be a fantastic day. If I win the race, will be a fantastic day, whatever the football does. Especially in the first part of the championship, in the group, you can afford to lose one game or have a bad result. So definitely, if we win the race, football becomes second priority.
Martin Brundle, former Formula One driver and popular commentator for the British TV, describes what it was like to drive a Ferrari single-seater when he took an exciting trip around the Scuderia in Maranello.
Martin, driving the Ferrari F10 was something different for you?
No doubt about it. It was a special privilege. You know, in the cold light of day, every car is made of carbon fibre, it's got an engine and a gearbox, and this one happens to be painted red, but it's of course much more than that. It's the history, it's the feeling when you're at the factory. It's incredible to have the test track just outside the door where they're building the cars, and then you think about the history. In my mind when I was a kid, seeing the images of Lauda or somebody coming in to the forecourt there, the test track, and experiencing this and having the mechanics working on the car and feeling part of the team, which is something I dreamed about when I was a professional Formula One driver. It was just something incredibly special and emotive and memorable. And you know, I drove for some great teams in Formula One, McLaren and Benetton, and Tyrrell and so many others. I wouldn't be disrespectful to them, but there's no doubt about it. The honour to drive a Ferrari was something etched in my mind and something I'll never forget.
So, did you regret for not having done it during your racing career?
Of course, I would love to have driven for Ferrari. I wrote to them when I was a kid, to Piccinini, and he wrote back to me. And when I was in Formula 3, and I wanted to be, you know, to join the team whenever I could. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to be in the fastest car that you can be in. But if that also happens to be a Ferrari, I think it's every driver's dream to win in a Ferrari. Not necessarily just to drive it for the sake of driving it, but to be successful in this car, to join the list of famous Ferrari drivers.
You drove an F10, an almost world champion winning car. How did you find it?
I find the cars unbelievably good now, and so in some ways disappointingly good, because of course I was 1 second off the pace of the Fiorano time that Maurizio said the car should do, so unless you're really on the limit, you're not pushing the cars. But having said that, having never driven the car, I don't really know the track, you can get in, you can push like crazy because they stop, they turn, you can't miss a shift, and they're the perfect racing cars. In my early career especially with the turbocharged cars I used to race in the 80s, your first job was to stop the car from crashing. And if you could get to the end of a Grand Prix, it was an unusual thing because reliability was so poor. Now you're looking for fractions of a second, for minute differences of where you brake, where you turn in. So the discipline has changed completely. But in your life as a racing driver, every minute of the day, every time your eyes are open, you always want to improve your car. So I had these cars that were twisting, hard to drive, scary. If you crashed, you broke your legs, and you could only dream of making it as good as the cars they have today. They're very lucky today.
So if you could have made a choice, better to drive one of these cars or the one of your age?
It's always easy to think that your era was the best era, whoever you are. But I would unquestionably drive one of these cars because, I limp because I've smashed up my feet in a Tyrrell that was made of honeycomb material. It was made of nothing basically. And the people before me were, in the 70s they were getting burned, in the 60s they were just getting killed or thrown out of the car like in the 50s. And they were terrible times, and these cars are so much safer. You can really push them to the limit, and the drivers, I think it's greater pleasure to be a Formula One driver today than in the past.
And what was your feeling visiting Maranello headquarters?
To visit Maranello, obviously it's quite a traditional factory, and if you've come from, let's say, the McLaren factory or all the, I go to all of the factories. And in a way, I was quite surprised when I went. For the first time ever, we had completely open door. Everybody made us welcome. Mr. Di Montezemolo was taking us around various places, and you made us very welcome. And suddenly we were sitting in the workshop where all these championship-winning cars had been built over the decades. And I was looking around and thinking, this is so traditional, this is so different. And cars parked outside, and just I guess it's a more Italian flavour, a different way of doing it, but as ever, it has the same result, and it's about how fast the car is, not how shiny the factory is. So I liked the history and the heritage of it. I liked the feeling, but it was very traditional.
And I was being driven by Montezemolo around the hills of Maranello.
Being driven by Mr. Di Montezemolo through Maranello in an FF, going quite fast. We have pictures with me, and I looked really scared because every so often he wanted to demonstrate to me the performance of the FF, which he did, up the hill, out the back, and it was good because he's always got plenty to tell you. He always wants to sell you a car as well, but that's what you expect. But I love, we got some great stuff from Luca, and his passion for Formula One, his knowledge and his history in Formula One. So it's a great privilege.
Do you like the current Formula One?
Yes, I do. I think the last boring season we had in Formula One was all your fault. It was 2004 when you dominated. And since then it's been incredible. Been so much action, and I love it. I love I'm well over 400 races I've been to now with driving and television. And so I'm so excited about it. I love the way it is now. I love the way we have reliability with the cars, the close action, the strategy. I think Formula One's never been better.
I need just one name for the final answer. You are one of the most important F1 pundits. Who's going to win 2012 World Championship?
The fastest driver will win, of course.
And who is?
I think there are three amazing drivers out there, which is Hamilton, Alonso and Vettel. Very, very, very close. And actually probably joining the list now is Button, I would say. And others are very close too. I don't know if you can get the car right for Fernando fast enough. So I would, and Vettel's a bit behind. So right now my money's on Hamilton.
Thank you, Martin.
In this edition, we are starting a section dedicated to the alphabet of Formula One. Along with the technician Moranello, we will discover, letter by letter, the facts behind this fascinating and sometimes mysterious world.
Anti-dive is the effect of the front suspension, where the kinematics of the front suspension stop the front of the car diving under braking. So the brake effort that goes into the upright stops the front of the car pitching down and helps keep the front of the car more stable.
Exhaust. The exhaust is a system of pipes which is bringing the gas from the combustion of the engine to the exit of the car.
Oversteer is when the car steers more than the driver requests. So the driver enters the corner, he requests a certain amount of steering, and the car effectively keeps rotating into the corner. This is probably one of the worst destabilizing effects that the driver can have, because A, they don't like it, and 2, it makes the car much slower. To resolve oversteer is a lot more difficult for the race engineers. Usually you want to put more force on the rear axle, but as you're always working with the maximum force on the rear tyres anyway, then it's quite difficult to solve. Usually we do simple things like we take less front wing in the car, we can put more downforce on the rear, we can put softer rear anti-roll bars, softer rear springs, simple things.
Valves. We use valves on the engine to let the air in the fuel in, and then after the combustion to let the hot exhaust gases out. The poor valve has quite a hard life. He gets very hot and he, at our speeds, opens and shuts lots and lots and lots of times a second.